Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to Bringing Division video. What I guess today are the two builds I would recommend making for the new global event. If you guys don't know, tomorrow, January 23rd, there will be a new global event dropping called Ambush, and the modifiers for it are pretty simple. All you really have to do is just stay in cover and just not move at all. I know it's kind of weird. The past one we did have, it was all about being close and just doing the most damage up close. With this one, you want to be as far as possible, you want to be as stationary as possible, and just use a gun with a lot of accuracy and range. So anyways, I'm going to show you guys the two builds I'll be rocking for this global event. Also, keep in mind, my gear is classified, my builds are classified. I will have an option for you guys when I show you guys the builds of a non-classified version for it. So if you don't have the gear, if you don't have the weapons I do have, there's other options you can make as well. So anyways, the first build I do have for you guys is this one. Now this is a 5-piece Deadeye and a Reckless chest piece kind of build. This build is very good for damage wise. Now yes, I would recommend playing with a team as well. If you're solo, this build could be a little bit annoying to play with because if you don't have a teammate with like a support station or just a station in general next to you kind of healing you, you might be kind of squishy. Although you do have 6100 stamina, you might be still squishy. It just really depends how your kind of team plays. But the best solution for this is I would recommend doing this or just using this with a team, even if it's like 2 people or 3 people. As long as someone has a good support station next to you, you should be fine. Anyways, for the weapon, what I'm using is Deadly, Sustained, and Ferocious. This is more of a PvE weapon, as I said. So I do have Ferocious on it and Sustained. The one thing is, probably Sustained isn't really too key for this. Maybe something like Predatory could be good as well, but in general, you want as much damage as possible, so if you get something like Unforgiving, or even something else that's damage-wise, instead of Sustained, you should be perfect. As for the weapon mods, I'm mainly spec'd into critical hit damage. As I am using 5-piece Deadeye, I do have 100% critical hit chance, so speccing into critical hit damage is the way to go. Next up for the secondary, I am using a shotgun. Now I did want a weapon just in case someone rushes me and I'm sitting behind cover, not really paying attention too much, being scoped in. I did want a weapon that I could just switch to and melt the enemy right away and just have no problem with it. So I did go with the Showstopper. I do have Responsive and Destructive on it, and as I said, this is mainly a weapon I will switch if I'm getting shot in the back or someone's, kind of next to me and I'm not really paying attention. This is a weapon I can use and just melt the enemy really quick. Up next, we're going to go over the gear and what I'm using. So first up, I am using 4% damage to elite mods with stamina. Now I do understand that not everyone has these mods, they're not being sold too often. So as I said, if you don't have these mods, you can use something like firearms and health mods, or even something like firearms and skill haste mods, just so you can get your heals and your support station a little bit quicker, or you can even go into stamina if you feel like you're too squishy. It's really up to you. But anyways, for the chest piece, what I'm using is a Reckless chest piece. This is something that's actually kind of, I guess, personal preference. I just like using Reckless just for the extra damage. Although I am taking 10% more damage when it's coming towards me. It's really up to you. You guys can use something like a Barrage chest piece or something like a Rapid chest piece could work on this build. As I said, it's just really personal preference. But anyways, what I'm using on it is stamina, enemy armor damage, health, and ammo capacity. Pretty self-explanatory right there. For the mask, I'm using firearms, enemy armor damage, damage to leads. One thing, I said this before, damage to leads is really important. If you're making a PvE build, it's pretty much the #1 thing you want to have as a minor attribute. Next up for the knee pads, I do have firearms, critical hit damage, burn resistance, disrupt resistance, and damage to leads once again. I did go with critical hit damage since I am using Deadeye and I do have 100% critical hit chance when I'm in cover. Critical hit damage is the next thing I do want to focus on a lot, and sacrificing the little bit of health could be kind of bad sometimes because you're going to be a little bit squishy, but since I do have over 6100 stamina, I'm still kind of tanky and I'm doing way more damage because of the modifiers, and also because my firearms is kind of up there as well. So as I said, critical hit damage is my choice. You guys can use something like health. It's just really up to you once again. For my backpack, I'm using stamina, critical hit damage, and burn resistance. This is the same story as the knee pads. I am using critical hit damage once again, but it's up to you guys. If you are squishy or you just have a problem with running that much critical hit damage, you guys can switch this out easily. For the gloves, I'm rocking with firearms, critical hit damage, enemy armor damage, and marksman rifle damage. And then lastly, I am using a Deadeye holster with health on it. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. As I said, there is another alternative option you guys can make of this build, and this is what it looks like. So as you guys can see, it is a still 4-piece Deadeye. Although my gear sets are classified, keep in mind you can make this without classified gear. I'm just using it because that's the one I have. But the only thing you really have to change up is use a Steadfast holster instead of a just a Deadeye holster, and also use a Reckless chest piece, and you pretty much have the same build. The one thing with the Steadfast holster that's really good about this and this global event is you're still in cover, and you're going to be in cover pretty much 99% of the time. So your health regenerates twice as fast with that holster, so it's actually pretty good to use. You guys can also use Nimble if you are planning on doing the cover to cover thing, but with my personal preference and just my kind of play style, I like using Steadfast over Nimble. The final thing I do want to show you guys are my skills and my talents. So first up, for my heal, I'm using a Overdose. I'm also using a Ammo Crate for my support station, and I'm also using a Recovery Link. The one thing with my build, and this can be a little bit different with your build, but with my build, I do run out of ammo really fast since I don't have ammo capacity in my backpack. So I am using a Ammo Crate, and this can be kind of changed out if you're playing with someone using Reclaimer or someone using a Ammo Crate for you. You guys can use something like a Shock Turret, Flame Turret, Sticky Bomb, or even a Pulse. But since I do play with people that don't really run Reclaimer, I'm just using this Ammo Crate for myself. And then for the talents, I do have Triage, Critical Save, Combat Medic, and Strike Back. The last build I do have for you guys is something a little bit different, and I showed you guys this before in my previous videos. But in my opinion, this build is a little bit better if you are more aggressive and if you don't like playing too stationary in PvE. Like myself, I am more aggressive in PvE, so this build kind of works out a little bit better for me. But anyways, what it is this. Now yes, this is another classified version of the build, but as I said, you don't have to have anything classified in order to make this build. If you have just normal gear and you pretty much put together what I have, you will get the same results. Anyways, for the weapons, I am using the MDR and M700 Carbon. So really quickly, what I have on my MDR is Brutal, Destructive, and Distracted, and I'm mainly spec'd into headshot damage on everything. And then for my sniper rifle, I'm using Prepared, Brutal, and Deadly, and once again, I'm mainly spec'd into headshot damage. As you guys can see, this build is more of headshots, and if you're not really good at getting headshots and just, you know, constantly landing headshots on your enemies, I would recommend using something like Striker, 3-piece Striker. Could be really good as well. But if you are decent at getting headshots, if you are playing on PC, anything like that, this build and this type of build is perfect for you. For the gear, I'm once again using purple mods with damage to leads and stamina. As I said in my first build, if you guys don't have these mods, you guys can use something like firearms health mods, stamina health mods, whatever you have. Anyways, for the chest piece, what I have on it is stamina, health, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. Pretty simple right there. For the mask, I'm actually using a Nomad mask for the health on kill. As you guys can see, you get a 15% health on kill anytime you get a kill with this, and for PvE, especially global events, health on kill is really good to have in my opinion. But what I have on it is firearms, enemy armor damage, and burn resistance. Unfortunately, I am missing damage to leads on this, but you know, it is what it is. That's the only Nomad mask I did have, so I'm using what I have. For the knee pads, I'm using Sentry knee pads with firearms, health, bleed resistance, damage to leads, blind/death resistance. Pretty simple over there. And for the backpack, I'm using the Ninja Bike backpack. Obviously, to make this build kind of work and everything to be unlocked, you have to have a Ninja Bike backpack. But what I have on it is firearms, health, disrupt resistance, and then once again, I'm using the purple mod with first aid self heals. For the gloves, I'm using Sentry gloves with firearms, enemy armor damage, critical hit damage, assault rifle damage. And lastly, for the holster, I'm using a D3 FNC holster with critical hit chance and first aid self heal. The reason why I'm using this is because of the protection from elites, which is 15%. And although it's not a crazy number, in my opinion, having 15% is better than nothing. You guys can use something a little bit different like Striker, or if you want to use and, you know, have Predator's Mark for the reload speed, whatever it is, whatever you want to use as the final gear, it's really up to you. But anyways, that is it for the build. As I said, this is more of a kind of mobile build. If you hate playing behind cover 24/7 and you still want to be back, you want to do a lot of damage, But if you want to kind of, run around and be mobile, this is a build I would recommend using. Last but not least, for my abilities, I am using a Overdose and Immune Station, and then for the talents, I do have Critical Save, Strike Back, Precision, and On the Move. The one thing is, with this build, Precision is really good to have since you're not using a Pulse, and your Pulse would suck with that much skill power you have. Precision is the next best option in my opinion, for the little bit better, critical hit damage and critical hit chance that you get from it. But anyways, that is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I respond to all my comments. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Trap house.